Hi, my name's Courtney and I have been a part of the Lifezone community for about 2 years now. I first started my journey at Lifezone doing the youth internship alongside Lana. This was a really cool way to get really connected in with Lifezone and all it has to offer. Today I am just going to be sharing a little bit about how God has worked through my life, and I hope that this can be encouraging or challenging to you. When I was about 13, my pastor had prophesied over me that God was going to be giving me dreams and visions. This is something that I had never experienced before, so I didn't really know how that was going to play out and impact my life. My mum, of course, jumped straight on board with this and was really encouraging me to start journaling my dreams and visions. And I specifically remember one time with one of my good old friends going to the warehouse with her and saying that I needed to pick out a journal so I could start writing down my dreams that God was going to give me. I had so much faith and was so anticipating this gift from God. All this excitement very quickly came to an end, however, when I remember my friend speaking over me that, God doesn't give dreams and visions. I don't think that will really happen to you. As soon as these words had been spoken over me, I just remember doubt creeping in. I remember second guessing everything that had once encouraged me. I remember feeling as though, you're right, I'm not good enough to receive such a gift from God. The words that this friend spoke over me really made me feel as though God was something that couldn't be accessed to me, something that I couldn't hear and I couldn't be heard. Shortly then after this is when I started getting night terrors. As a 13-year-old, I wasn't even aware of what night terrors were, so I never really spoke up to my parents about what was happening alone in my bed at night. I experienced a lot of sleep paralysis and was pretty scared, but didn't really know how to actually speak up and ask for help. These night terrors continued on for about almost a year before I actually spoke out to my mum about it. I remember lying in my bed paralyzed with fear, and I was just sobbing. And my mum was walking past my door when she heard me and came in, and she just picked me up and I was just shaking. Oh my gosh. So crazy, I was something like 5 years ago. These terrors that I was experiencing were so real and vivid, something that I couldn't explain to anyone, which made it extra hard to reach out for help. When I finally made it known that I was struggling with these, it was almost like an instant breakthrough. It was like it didn't have a hold on me anymore. I was experiencing night terrors, but I could actually have help now. I had enormous amounts of prayer poured into me from family and friends, and I didn't feel so alone anymore. Even though I struggled with them still, I didn't feel alone. I made known how much this had impacted my relationship with God, feeling unheard and unseen. And from there, I experienced so much love and support from friends and family, and finally had truth spoken into me that, God did hear me, He did love me. Even though I was experiencing these things, He saw me exactly where I was. A verse that really impacted my life during this time is from Psalms 91. You who live in the shelter of the Most High, who abide in the shadow of the Almighty, will say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. And in verse 5 it says, you will not fear the terror of the night. This is something that really, really stuck out to me, and I would pray constantly in my bed while I was alone. In times when I was feeling so unsafe and so insecure, I found security and safety in Him. Constantly throughout my youth-aged years, I felt as though my security in God was being challenged. I still felt too afraid to ask God to actually give me dreams and visions from Him. I prayed away the dreams. I didn't want anything to interrupt my sleep. I didn't want to be open to anything that would cause me fear anymore, which made me close off to this prophecy that had been spoken over me. As I had dreams and night terrors that had come true and didn't lead to any good. And it probably wasn't until the year 2020 where I did Headspace where I really started to feel as though I was safe enough to start opening up to what God had in store for me. in this specific area of my life. And I started to kind of hand over my dreams to him again. After I had finally handed this fear over to God, I vividly remember hearing this name, Isabel, pop into my head. And it felt so important. It felt like this was something urgent that God had given me, and I needed to immediately pray for whoever this person was. So for the next 2 weeks I spent constant time in prayer for this girl who I'd never met before. I didn't know who she was, but I was ready to meet her. 2 weeks after hearing this name, I went to Lakes Ranch camp, and I actually met this girl, Isabel, who I had been praying for. And once getting into conversation with her, she opened up and telling me that the last 2 weeks of her life have been some of the hardest days she's experienced. It was such an amazing experience being able to tell her that God cared so much about her. He cared for her so much that he would speak through me to pray for her and to encourage her, and speak life into her and truth into her. We formed a really amazing connection after this point and continued to keep in touch and meet up every now and then. And I would just check in on how she was doing with God, and it was such an amazing experience seeing what God could do with me just saying yes to praying for someone. After this point, I realized what an amazing privilege it was to walk alongside youth that were feeling discouraged and hopeless and feeling as though they couldn't reach God and God couldn't reach them, exactly how I felt at her age. This is kind of what started the fire of me wanting to get involved in youth's lives and speaking truth into them and encouraging them not to believe the lies that they're constantly surrounded by. That then led into me obviously doing the youth internship last year, which was such an amazing experience. It definitely came with its challenges, but I'm so grateful for doing it. I'm still learning to hear and listen to God, but it's so worth opening up to him, letting him have full control, not putting fear first, but first put trust in him. And I just want to encourage you guys to have faith that God can turn a really hard season in your life into something beautiful, something that he will use to glorify him. I had so easily believed the lie that God didn't have anything good for me. I let the enemy persuade me from what God told me was true. Don't be afraid to let God into your mess, because that's exactly where he needs to be. Night terrors is still something that I experience every now and then, but it doesn't have the same hold on me that it used to. I now see the faithfulness of God and I trust him through it. I choose to take hold of what is true and throw away anything that I believe to be a lie, or that God tells me is a lie.